Welcome to In a Nutshell, the podcast dedicated to all things agricultural consulting. I'm Dillon Brush here with soil genius and ag consultant Bill Brush, and we're delighted to accompany you on this journey where we break down the different aspects of agricultural consulting. In each episode, we'll dive into the realm of agriculture through the eyes of Bill Brush, where consultants like Bill play a vital role in empowering farmers, agribusiness, and agricultural organizations. If you're passionate about agriculture, problem solving, and enjoy a little bit of detective work, this podcast is tailor-made for you. Hello, Agriculture in a Nutshell listeners. It's me, Dillon Brush, back at it with another one of these little personal insight episodes. Today I figured I'd cut you guys in on what I've been doing at the farm, at my family's farm, these last, we'll say a couple months, few months. I've been working for the farm, and it's been pretty nice. I'm very fortunate to be able to work for my family's farm. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I'm also very grateful for the flexibility that it offers me. I started back in April. April 8th is the date that I keep throwing around. And I was very proud, I would say, to be able to finally have the opportunity and be in a place where I am able to work for the farm. And so, yeah, I figured that it would be a cool little thing to talk about for a little while for anyone who's interested. So initially I was tasked with being more of, and I know it's not so glamorous or necessarily super ag related, but it contributes to the well-being and operations of the whole ordeal. But what I was initially tasked with, and what the idea was that I would be kind of like a maintenance / janitorial service person, where we, at our huller, our nut processing facility that we have access to, there's a house where people used to live in it, but now it is vacant and it is used as the break room. And so there's actually two break rooms, technically, or like a break area and a break room. And the break room is more of a break house. And so this house, well, let's just say it is very worse for wear. It had seen better days, and a large portion of it is carpeted, and the kitchen's tiled, bathroom's tiled. There's two bathrooms, they're both tiled. There are 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, a living room, like a little breezeway type deal between the garage and the main building, or like the main house. That's carpeted. And then there's a patio area in the back. And then when you walk in through the patio area, there's an enclosed piece of the patio basically behind the garage, which has concrete floor, but isn't a conventional room. It's more of an outdoor room, but it has windows and it's enclosed. It has a door. It's very, very odd, but that's just kind of the basic layout of this establishment. And like I said, it had seen better days when it came to cleanliness and upkeep. And so I figured that since I wanted to start contributing to the farm in any way I could, and in the best capacity that I could, that I was physically able to do, I figured that it would be a great idea to maybe spruce things up a little bit. So I conferred with my dad, who also works for the farm, and grandpa as well, as you will know, Bill Brush, and wanted to get their opinions on if this was a feasible task to be tasked to me, if this was a feasible task for me to do. And so, long story short, on that front, they said, yep, that sounds like a fantastic idea, because no one's there to do it. And when the harvest season comes around, definitely no one's there to do it. So it's not like I would be necessarily taking work away from other people, or whatever. It would be a perfect little niche that I would feel and something that I could do on my own time, and it wouldn't interfere with any of the operations going on, or like I wouldn't be getting in the way of anyone. I could do it super late at night or super early in the morning for however long I needed to do it for. It being cleaning and sprucing up the entire break house, as I will call it. And so that's how it started. So in April, I made a list for Walmart and put a bunch of cleaning supplies after I went down to the Huller with my dad because I'd never actually been inside the break house before, and so I was curious as to what it was and like what it was all about, all the things inside of it, what it looked like, how truthfully dirty was it, because my dad had been talking it up a lot. Like it was very, very dirty. And so with that being said, I was like, I don't know, how bad could it be, right? And so we got there, showed up with him, and we did a little walkthrough, and sure enough, it was quite dirty. It was dirty in regards to like tables and chairs in the kitchen were all strewn about. There's a bunch of like leftover trash from lunch and things like that. Like the tables needed to be wiped down. But the biggest thing was that the entire place, the walls, the carpet, the tile, the windows, the mirrors, the sink, the cabinets, like you name it, if it was inside that house, it was caked with like an inch of dust, because the nature of just obviously of where it's been and then it not being cleaned or deep cleaned for so long, it just made it absolutely filthy. So with that being said, I had my hands full with all kinds of stuff to do. So I was very happy about that, because I was very worried initially when my dad was talking up how, oh yeah, it's dirty. There's no way you could bang that out in 2 days or whatever. I was worried that I was going to walk in there and be like, yep, it's dirty, but like if I put in 2 like full on work day, like 2 8-hour days or whatever, I'm sure I could get through the vast majority of it, if not finish the whole thing. Cleaning, mopping, vacuuming, carpet cleaning, stain removing, wiping down tables, all the full 9 yards. I was pretty confident before I had done the walkthrough that this wasn't going to be like, I was worried I was going to run out of work too quickly, and then I was going to have to figure out something else to do. That could not have been farther from the truth. That place was far more dirty than I thought it was, and it to the naked eye, it might not be as bad as I'm describing it, but once you are actually getting down into the nitty-gritty of actually cleaning it, it was bad. So I had my hands full. So, like I said, I made a big old list from Walmart of all the cleaning supplies that I thought I needed going into that, based on my walk around, and then picked them up, got all the stuff. I got some bleach. Obviously, I needed some spray bleach, Clorox spray bleach, very good stuff. That stuff's scary. It comes in a green bottle, if you're familiar, and it will melt the paint off of walls. It is just, that stuff is potent. But anyway, so got that. Got a nice sponge mop, which came in clutch. Got some soap, or like some Fabuloso, which smells amazing. Very good for the tile. I also use that on the walls with the sponge mop. I'll get to that in a little bit. I got some like antibacterial spray. Like it's bleach, but not bleach. It's basically Clorox spray, but without bleach. And I wanted to use that on like the refrigerators that are in there. There's 2 refrigerators in this place. One's in that like weird concreted floor outside inside room, and then the other one's in the kitchen. So I wanted to use like non-bleach in that, just because bleach and food storage, that gets a little sketchy. Got a vacuum cleaner, which was awesome, because the vacuum cleaner that we had there already, let's just say it had past its expiration date. It needed to be replaced. So we got a new vacuum, and then eventually we got a actual like carpet cleaner, like one that shoots out water and has soap mixture and all that kind of stuff, because the carpets were also looking worse for wear. That was like the big shtick for me, was that I wanted to get those carpets in shape, and still they're admittedly not where I want them to be, but they are significantly better than what they were. And so got some of that, got some spot cleaner for the carpets as well. Got some Windex, bunch of paper towels, some trash bags, some rubber gloves, like everything that you could think of for cleaning. I basically picked one up, if not more than one up, because I had my work cut out for me. So once I got all that stuff, I started room by room. I went to the least traveled room. That, like, there's basically 3 bedrooms, and all 3 of the bedrooms aren't used for anything. So they're just empty, and they were super, super dirty at the time, just from being stagnant. So like a bunch of dust, but not like real like usage dirtiness, I guess you could say. It was just kind of from stagnation and it collecting dust. So I started with those because I figured that would be the easiest, like just ease my way in. Cleaned up a bunch of stains on the carpet, wiped down the window seals, vacuumed the carpet, wiped down the walls, all that kind of stuff. The door frames, crown molding, all the whole 9 yards. So I did that in 2 of the main rooms. One of them was like barely needed anything to be done. The other one's carpet was really, really bad, the first one I did. And so I spent a little extra time on that, but it ended up actually turning out very, very nicely. Then I moved on to, I just kind of worked my way from bedroom down the hallway, like as the flow of the house went. That's kind of the way I went. And so once I was done with the first bedroom, went down the hallway, and then I did the second bedroom, came back up the hallway, did the bathroom, which the bathroom was not good either. Mopped down the floors. I got a grout scrub brush, like a little bristly brush, and got down on the floor and scrubbed the grout, all that kind of stuff. Scrubbed the toilet, cleaned the toilet, I took Clorox wipes and wiped down the whole like kitchen, or not kitchen sink, the bathroom sink, all that kind of stuff, like the vanity. I keep trying to think of the word vanity. Wiped all that down, used some bleach on that, and it ended up working out. The scrub brush, the grout brush, is amazing. It's a very multifaceted tool. And so I used that and bleach and a rag a lot, and some paper towels. Basically I basically bleached, grout brushed, and paper toweled the entire break house by hand, essentially. Wiped down the mirrors, wiped down the trash can, the door frames, the doors, all that kind of stuff, because it was just, like I said, caked up from a long time of just sitting there, not having anyone uncake it up. So moved out of the bathroom, went down into like this, it's a very odd room. It has an ironing board in it, but it's not like necessarily a bedroom, because like where it's placed is very peculiar in relation to everything else in the house. So it's like kind of like a mud room, but it has carpet, but it's not really a mud room. So, and it doesn't have a place to put a washer and dryer if you were to do laundry on the laundry board, which is also interesting. So I truthfully don't know what the purpose of that room is, but it is just a room. So I went into there, did the carpets, same thing, spot cleaned, vacuumed, all that kind of stuff. Did the molding, did the window seal and the windows, or the window, and all that kind of stuff. I initially was doing the walls just by hand, just wiping them down, like I said, grout brush, paper towels, bleach, and just letting it do its thing. But then I wisened up and I got my sponge mop and used the Fabuloso on the walls, and that worked like a charm to get that caked up dirt off. And it ended up making the whole place smell pretty nice as well, which was awesome. I recommend the blue, I forget what it's called, it's like tropical whatever something, the blue Fabuloso, if you need to clean something, very, very good smell. It smells awesome, and it gets the job done. That or Pine Sol. Pine Sol is good, but it doesn't smell as good. But anyway, so ended up doing that. I mopped down the walls of each of the bedrooms and the bathroom. I ended up going back to the bathroom and scrubbing down. There's a shower bathtub combo. Scrub that down. And so I was making my way through, and this is over the course of like a couple months at least, working periodically throughout the week. Because when I started, I was actually still, so in April I was enrolled at our local community college, MJC, and was taking classes there for my last semester, looking to graduate from there. And then I was also working at a golf course, one of our local golf courses. So this was like my third little cherry on top job that I would come in. Like I said, very thankful for the flexibility that they have offered and provided me. I was able to come in like super late at night and do all this stuff when no one's around, so that I'm not bothering anyone. Or super early in the morning, or like basically work around other people's schedules so that I'm not interfering with other people and getting in the way of stuff. So very thankful for that. But at that time, this was like technically my third job that I was working, because I was tutoring at MJC, and then I was also working, like I said, at the golf course, and then I had this on top of that, which super awesome, fun times, very, very busy portion of my life. But like I said, just working a little piece here and there, chunk of time there, chunk of time here, staying up late, staying out at the break house late, getting the scrub on. And so anyways, like I said, started in April. It took at least, we're a couple months in, few months in to me doing all this. The kitchen took a very long time because I had to go and hand scrub all the grout on the countertops and like scrub down all the cabinets and all that kind of jazz. The refrigerator took a long time to do because it was not very receptive to the not bleach that I was using, because the bleach just melts through everything, but I didn't want to use that, like I said, in food storage. So I was using the non-bleach like disinfectant spray basically, and it's not as potent, so you have to scrub a little harder. So that took a while. Scrub down the walls in the kitchen, the dining room. The dining room took a long time because there's big window in the dining room. So windows took a while because there's a lot of nooks and crannies in there. Then after that, the main living room, the carpet, there's a lot of carpet in there. So that took a very long time as well to really get in there. And that stuff was caked in there very, very heavily. So I had to take extra time to do all that. And then I moved towards the end of like getting it to where I was a little bit more happy with how it looked. I moved to the outdoor area where like the concrete / enclosed patio, weird, that place. I ended up going out there. I took one of the older mops and mopped that whole place down because the floor is very, very dusty and dirty, and I didn't want that to kick up when I was working on some of the other stuff like the walls or the windows. The windows in particular, it was very hard to see out of the windows because of how many cobwebs and how much dust, and just, oh my goodness, it was thickly caked up because, like I said, it was like indoor outdoor, so you got a lot of the outdoor on the indoor part. And so the windows took a long time, but I knocked it all down, took a rag, knocked all the stuff down, like the cobwebs and thick dust, then went back and Windex the windows, which was night and day difference. That improved that whole place so much because you could actually see out of the windows. Super, super nice. And so basically that was like the cherry on top for the inside as far as that goes. I keep going back to the carpets. Like I would keep seeing like, I think I could get them a little better. And so I would just do that periodically. But super, super long story short, as far as the inside of the place goes, I've gotten it to where now it's more of just like a maintenance type deal. So just like upkeep. So I'll go in a few times a week and just throw some trash away, wipe down some tables, wipe down the mirrors, maybe the bathroom if it needs to be, like places where people actually are and are using, that just get dirty or need a little bit of love and affection, TLC, uh, just from daily use. And so that's kind of what I've been doing on the inside now. In addition to that, the outside, since it is just a house, has a front yard, backyard, side yard, all that kind of stuff. What I did, and this also took months, and this is good chunks of time that I've taken out of my life to go and do. Used a pressure washer, I did pressure wash the entire outside of the house. There's an overhang on the back patio area, and I pressure washed that down, and it went from being like, oh, I thought it was like a textured type of corrugated metal. No, it's shiny corrugated metal. And so I found that out whenever I pressure washed it, and it looks extremely nice now. Cleaned up all like any trash or anything like that. I also got into a little bit of landscaping in addition to just cleaning and stuff like that. Very mild landscaping. And so I went and de-weeded up and down the back fence. I also pressure washed all the fences and all the things around, like bordering the place. They have some statues. I pressure washed those, made them look all nice. I carved out so we put down a bunch of like rock, just sediment stuff for driving on and parking on and all that stuff. And so it covered up a lot of the sidewalk, and then just dust and dirt that's accumulated up over the years also covered it up. So I went through with the pressure washer and basically cut out the sidewalk again, and then shoveled out all the dirt and put it in a place where it's not going to be in the way, and basically brought back the sidewalk. And so that was cool. I de-weeded all around the outside of it. It was pretty. There's quite a few weeds going on up and down the fence, and around, like there's a little half fence around the back patio that's made out of brick. Pressure washed that, and also de-weeded around that. Threw away a bunch of just miscellaneous, like there's broken bricks and all that kind of stuff. Threw away a bunch of that stuff. And then also went in the front yard. There's a bunch of like old non-operational tractors and like trucks, a couple things. It's like lawn art, and it's actually pretty cool. I'm not doing it justice describing it, but it's pretty interesting. Fits the aesthetic of the whole property and the house and all that kind of stuff. And so I went and pressure washed all those and made the colors super vibrant again. Out in front of the house, there's a little just fence kind of deal, like a short fence, and pressure washed all that, and also raked, hula hoed, and shoveled. This took forever. The whole front of the house, in front of that fence, up against the road, the main road, because there was a bunch of debris just from the road and like weeds and weeds in particular, all that kind of stuff. And so I made it look all pretty, super nice, so that when you're driving by, it's like, oh, that's cleaned up quite good. So did that. That took a while. And then after that, I discovered that there was another break room area, like the original one that they had used. And it's basically just like a converted shipping crate that has like facilities in it. So like bathroom, sink. It has a hookup for a fridge and a fridge, all that kind of stuff. Just like a little break room. And then there's like a little overhang basically where there's a few chairs and some other equipment, and there's a little shed and some like oil. That's where we do a bunch of the oil stuff, and like there's a pressure washer in the shed and all this kind of stuff. And so some of the guys who work at the Huller like to go and eat lunch over there. And so in my pressure washing endeavors outside at the other break house, I found a bunch of cinder blocks. I think like 7 or something like that, 8, all kinds of cinder blocks. And so there were 2 pallets as well that I had found over at the second or the original break area. and like a sheet of plexiglass. There's two sheets of plexiglass, but there was one that was much better. Actually, I take that back. There was two. And so what I ended up doing was I collected all the cinder blocks because I knew I wanted to do something for the farm, like just out of the kindness of my heart, as a little extra side project with the cinder blocks, but I didn't know what exactly. And so I was thinking about painting them, like painting a tree on it or painting some like almonds and walnuts or something like that. And then going and putting them in front of the office, which I also had went in and cleaned up a bunch. I like mopped the floors, tables. I cleaned off the whiteboard that was in there that was super caked up with like eraser marks and all that kind of stuff. Cleaned some of the bathrooms, the walls, just the normal stuff, you know. But anyway, so I was wanting to paint those cinder blocks and like make a little art thing to put in front of the office because I thought that would be kind of cool and it would fit the aesthetic of the facility. What I ended up doing was I put them into a wheelbarrow, which if you put 4 cinder blocks in a wheelbarrow and try and push it anywhere, that's not a fun time. That is a very heavy experience. And so I learned that the hard way. But anyway, so I moved all the cinder blocks over to the original break area because I know, like I said, a couple of the guys like to eat their lunch over there. And so what I ended up doing was I DIY'd. I'm very proud of this. Very proud of this. I DIY'd a little table for them. So I put 4 cinder blocks as like the legs of the table, and then I stacked 4 more sideways on top of that to like give it a little extra height so you could actually get your knees underneath it, depending on how tall you are, of course. And then I put the better of the 2 pallets that I had found. I pressure washed all of this before I did this, by the way, including the plexiglass, so that it was all nice and clean and good to go. But I stacked the cinder blocks into like a little square like that, with the top ones being horizontal and the bottom ones being vertical. And then I put the better of the 2 pallets on the top, and it perfectly, the pallet like slats for like where you would have the forks of a forklift go in, are like the exact width of a sideways cinder block basically. And I found that out, and so I was like, oh, that's awesome. So it perfectly sat and locked in place, so it's a very, very sturdy table. And then I put the 2 pieces of plexiglass from, I think they're from like a tractor or something like that, like the windshields of something, whatever, that got taken off or replaced or whatever, and they were just put to the side, not being used for anything. Put those on the top as like a table topper, so that it's not just the wood. Of course, you could just use the top of the pallet as your tabletop, but I figured having a little plexiglass would be better for like if you put a plate on it or a cup or whatever. But anyway, so I put that there and then put the chairs around. There's just metal folding out chairs in as like a little table. So I built a little table for some of the guys who worked there. And so I was very happy with that and proud of that because it put some things that would just normally be thrown away. I would just ask to put them in the dumpster to use. So that was kind of cool. I also started, since I was over at this area, I pressure washed the whole place down, like all the barrels that were oily and the concrete on the ground and the overhang, the fence that's over there. I pressure washed all that down. I de-weeded the little area in front and to the side of like the shipping crate. Pressure washed the shipping crate. I also carved out the path, the sidewalk. The sidewalk had a bunch of dirt like that had just accumulated on it, and so basically I carved that out similarly to how I did that over at the break house. And then after that, I had the idea. I was like, you know what? I want to make, because it's the shipping crate's door is kind of like raised off the ground about a foot ish or so, and so there's no walkway basically between the concrete and the actual door to the shipping crate or like the break area in there. So long story short, I'm not doing a very good job of describing it. There's a bunch of that sediment stuff that I had used from, or that I had removed from the break house. So I went and got the wheelbarrow, filled it up like 6 or 7 times, and used it to cart or like make a little path. And I put 2 little berms on either side so that it wouldn't like spread out over time. It would stay in one spot and just be a path. It looks significantly better now, and it has a functional purpose. So it's very good. That's probably, that and the table are the 2 things that I'm most proud of in terms of just operations, because that was me thinking kind of outside of the box. Like, how could I improve this place, like quality of life style? So I was happy with that. And then I went into the actual original break room itself and started scrubbing that place down. It was equally, if not more dirty than the break house, just because of where it's at. It accumulates a lot of dust, and that's like an ongoing battle to fight because it is right next door to the actual huller's facility. And so it gets a lot of dust from the hullers kicking it up. And so wiped it all down, scrubbed it all down, did the bathroom, all that kind of stuff. Just, the vibes, basically. Same exact thing that I did in the break house. And yeah, so that's been what I've been doing. Recently, once I've like the harvest season started and they more people are around to actually be doing farm related activities, what I've been doing is also contributing to said farm related activities. So I've gotten a weed whacker from the huller and have been weed whacking in between like almond trees when we were shaking them just before, so that whenever we go to sweep, the nuts don't get trapped in between and weeds and all that kind of stuff. So I did that for a couple of fields. I also have been pruning some trees, a couple fruit trees, a couple other types of trees, just kind of hedging them down a little bit. And then I also, same thing with the weed whacker, went and did a bunch of the, like literally just this last couple of weeks, a bunch of walnuts, like same concept, going into the walnut orchards and knocking the weeds down in between trees and up against irrigation boxes, up and down the pipeline, all that kind of stuff. Just trying to get it to where when we go and sweep, the nuts don't get trapped and all that stuff. I also did that in our pecan orchard, but I stopped doing that because I was informed that we don't harvest pecans until like November. So there's no point in me going and doing that now, because by the time November comes around, any sort of progress that I made now will be completely redone because all the weeds will be able to be regrown. Although I did go down and around like the irrigation pumps and all that kind of stuff, knock down a lot of the peat grass that's there, which that is fine because we'll actually need, like, that area where that all that stuff is at is frequented. So knocking that down actually serves a pretty good purpose. But in the fields themselves for the pecans, once it gets closer to harvesting them, I will go back down there and that'll be my primary focus on what to do. But yeah, I've just been kind of, I took a bunch of puncture vine out. I took just a shovel, a rake, wheelbarrow, and willpower, and shoveled and raked a bunch of puncture vine because that stuff is really hard to kill and get killed and stay killed. So yeah, that's basically been my farm experience so far. I also pressure washed several tractors before they went out for harvest and all that stuff. Wiped down the windows so that you could see out of them better and all that kind of jazz. Just general labor and just helping out where I can. I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's basically what I've been up to the last since April, essentially. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my endeavors, and there will be another episode in a couple of weeks, and I hope you guys enjoy that just as much as you enjoyed this. So with that being said, always stay curious.